No heels, no entry. The guard scoffed, his eyes scanning her simple flats with obvious disdain. She looked down at her comfortable shoes, the ones that had carried her through countless hours of community service and volunteer work. She looked around at the other women walking past in glittering gowns and towering stilettos, their confident strides echoing against the marble floors. They belonged here. She clearly didn't. At least, that's what everyone seemed to think. But inside the grand ballroom, the judges whispered among themselves, checking their watches and scanning the crowd. They had been watching her for months, observing her work from afar, waiting for this moment. When they finally called her name over the loudspeaker, the room fell silent. The crown sparkled as it was placed gently on her head, and in that moment, everyone understood the truth. Royalty isn't about what you wear on your feet. It's about how far you're willing to walk to serve others. Welcome to Heroes Unheard. Before we continue this incredible story, tell us in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today? And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, please hit that subscribe button to support our channel. We're growing every day, and I sincerely thank you for being part of our community. The Grand Metropolitan Hotel gleamed like a jewel in the heart of the city, its crystal chandeliers casting rainbow patterns across the marble floors of the lobby. Tonight was the most prestigious event of the social calendar, the annual Humanitarian Awards Gala, where the city's elite gathered to honor those who had made extraordinary contributions to society. The event had been held for over 2 decades, growing in prestige and influence each year. Corporate sponsors competed to have their names associated with the gala, celebrities flew in from around the world to attend, and the media coverage reached millions of viewers globally. The awards themselves had become symbols of the highest recognition for humanitarian work, with previous recipients including Nobel Peace Prize winners, internationally renowned philanthropists, and leaders of major charitable organizations. The guest list read like a who's who of influence and wealth. Celebrities, politicians, business moguls, and socialites all arriving in their finest attire. Luxury cars lined the street outside as photographers captured each arrival, their camera flashes illuminating designer gowns that cost more than most people earned in a year. The dress code for the gala was strictly enforced, reflecting the event's emphasis on glamour and prestige. Women were expected to arrive in evening gowns with appropriate footwear, specifically, high heels that demonstrated both fashion sense and social status. The requirement had never been questioned. It was simply understood that this level of formal event demanded a certain standard of appearance. Maya Chen stood at the entrance, clutching her invitation with slightly trembling hands. At 28, she had dedicated her life to serving the homeless community, running a small non-profit organization that provided meals, shelter, and job training to those whose society had forgotten. Her work uniform consisted of comfortable clothes and practical shoes, attire suited for long days in soup kitchens and homeless shelters. For tonight's gala, Maya had borrowed a simple black dress from her sister and paired it with her most comfortable flats. She had never owned high heels, finding them impractical for the kind of work she did. The flats had carried her through countless nights on the streets, helping people in crisis, and she saw no reason to change now. Maya's organization, Second Chances, operated out of a converted warehouse in the city's most neglected district. With a staff of just 3 full-time employees and dozens of volunteers, they served over 300 meals daily, provided temporary housing for families in crisis, and ran job training programs that had helped more than 1,000 people find stable employment over the past 5 years. The work was physically demanding and emotionally exhausting. Maya often worked 16-hour days, moving between the shelter, the soup kitchen, and the streets where many homeless individuals lived. Her flats were essential equipment, allowing her to walk long distances, stand for hours while serving meals, and respond quickly to emergencies. She had received the invitation to the gala 3 weeks earlier, along with a note indicating that Second Chances had been nominated for the Outstanding Community Service Award. The nomination had come as a complete surprise. Maya had never sought recognition for her work and was unaware that anyone outside her immediate community knew about her organization. The nomination letter explained that Maya and her team had been observed by the awards committee for several months. Anonymous evaluators had visited her facilities, interviewed beneficiaries of her programs, and reviewed the organization's impact on the community. The committee had been impressed not just by the scope of Maya's work, but by her hands-on approach and genuine care for the people she served. As Maya approached the hotel entrance, she was struck by the contrast between this glittering world and the reality she knew from the streets just a few blocks away. The cost of the flowers decorating the entrance could have fed her entire shelter for a week. The designer gowns worn by arriving guests represented more money than her organization's annual budget. But Maya also understood the importance of events like this gala. The publicity and networking opportunities could lead to increased funding and support for humanitarian causes. If receiving an award could help her serve more people in need, she was willing to endure an evening of discomfort in unfamiliar surroundings. The security guard at the entrance, a large man in an expensive uniform, looked Maya up and down with obvious disapproval. His name tag read Stevens, and his demeanor suggested someone who took great pride in maintaining the exclusivity of the events he worked. "Invitation," Stevens said curtly, extending his hand without making eye contact. Maya handed over her invitation, which Stevens examined with exaggerated thoroughness, as if expecting to find it fraudulent. His expression suggested that he found Maya's appearance inconsistent with the caliber of guests typically invited to such events. "Ma'am," Stevens said finally, his tone condescending, "this is a formal event. The dress code requires appropriate footwear." He gestured pointedly at Maya's flats. "No heels, no entry." Maya looked down at her comfortable shoes, suddenly self-conscious about her choice. Around her, other women walked past in glittering gowns and towering stilettos, their confident strides echoing against the marble floors like proclamations of their belonging. "I wasn't aware of the shoe requirement," Maya said quietly. "Is there perhaps somewhere nearby where I could purchase heels?" Stevens shook his head with apparent satisfaction. "The shops are closed at this hour, ma'am. Perhaps you could return next year with proper attire." The dismissal stung, but Maya had faced worse rejection in her line of work. She was accustomed to being turned away from places where her presence was unwanted, often while trying to help people who had nowhere else to turn. "Please," Maya said, maintaining her composure despite the growing embarrassment. "My organization has been nominated for an award tonight. I'm Maya Chun from Second Chances." Stevens looked unimpressed. "I don't make the rules, ma'am. They're very clear about the dress code." As Maya stood there, uncertain what to do next, other guests continued to arrive, casting curious glances at the woman being detained at the entrance. Some whispered among themselves, clearly wondering why someone dressed so modestly was attempting to enter such an exclusive event. Victoria Ashford, wife of a prominent investment banker and regular attendee of high society events, paused near the entrance after overhearing the conversation. Her diamond jewelry caught the light as she turned to examine Maya with obvious disdain. "How unfortunate," Victoria said to her companion, loud enough for Maya to hear. "Some people simply don't understand the standards expected at events like this. It's really quite inappropriate to arrive so underdressed." Her companion, Jennifer Walsh, nodded in agreement. I can't imagine what she was thinking. Doesn't she realize this is the most important charitable gala of the year? The least she could do is show proper respect by dressing appropriately. The comments drew more attention to Maya's situation, creating a small crowd of onlookers who seemed more interested in the drama than in helping resolve it. Maya felt her face burning with embarrassment, but she remained determined to attend the event if possible. Inside the grand ballroom, the gala was already underway. The room was magnificent, with soaring ceilings decorated with frescoes depicting angels and clouds, and massive floral arrangements that filled the air with the scent of roses and lilies. Round tables covered in crisp white linens surrounded a raised stage where the awards ceremony would take place. The judges for the humanitarian awards were seated at a special table near the front of the room. The panel included Dr. Sarah Martinez, director of the city's largest medical charity, Robert Thompson, founder of an international relief organization, and Margaret Foster, a retired social worker who had spent 40 years advocating for children's rights. Dr. Martinez checked her watch and looked toward the entrance with growing concern. "Has anyone seen Maya Chin yet? The ceremony begins in 20 minutes, and she's supposed to be here for the Community Service Award presentation." Robert Thompson pulled out his phone to double-check the guest list. "Her invitation was confirmed, and our office received an RSVP last week." She should definitely be here by now. Margaret Foster, who had personally visited Maya's shelter during the evaluation process, looked worried. I hope nothing has happened to prevent her from attending. After everything we observed about her work, she absolutely deserves to be recognized tonight. The three judges had spent considerable time evaluating Maya's organization as part of their selection process. They had visited Second Chances multiple times, spoken with dozens of people who had been helped by Maya's programs, and reviewed extensive documentation of the organization's impact on the community. What had impressed them most was not just the scope of Maya's work, but her approach to it. Unlike many charity leaders who operated from comfortable offices and delegated direct service to staff members, Maya was personally involved in every aspect of her organization's work. She served meals, cleaned facilities, counseled people in crisis, and even did maintenance work when necessary. The judges had watched Maya spend an entire night on the streets during a winter storm, checking on homeless individuals and ensuring they had access to shelter. They had seen her use her own money to buy groceries when the food donations ran low. They had witnessed her comfort a grieving mother who had lost her home, sitting with her for hours and helping her navigate the complex process of finding temporary housing. Dr. Martinez had been particularly moved by observing Maya's interaction with children at the shelter. Despite her own exhaustion after working all day, Maya had spent an evening helping young residents with their homework, reading bedtime stories, and ensuring they felt safe and cared for in their temporary home. Her work represents the best of humanitarian service, Dr. Martinez had told her fellow judges during their final deliberation. She doesn't just run programs. She transforms lives through personal commitment and genuine compassion. Meanwhile, outside the hotel, Maya's situation was growing more uncomfortable by the minute. More guests had arrived and witnessed her being turned away, and the whispered comments were becoming increasingly harsh. I don't understand why someone would even attempt to attend an event like this without proper preparation, said another arriving guest. It shows a lack of respect for the occasion and the other attendees. Stevens, the security guard, seemed to be enjoying his authority to exclude Maya from the event. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to move away from the entrance. You're blocking access for properly dressed guests. Maya felt her heart sinking as she realized she might not be able to attend the ceremony at all. She thought about the people back at the shelter who had been excited to hear that their organization was being recognized. Many of them had never imagined that the work they did together could receive this kind of acknowledgement. Just as Maya was about to turn away, a commotion erupted inside the ballroom. Dr. Martinez had become increasingly concerned about Maya's absence and had decided to investigate personally. She approached the main organizer of the gala, Patricia Whitmore, who was coordinating the evening's events. Patricia, we have a problem, Dr. Martinez said urgently. Maya Chun, one of our award recipients, hasn't arrived yet. This is completely out of character for her. She's one of the most reliable people I've ever worked with. Patricia checked her clipboard and frowned. Her invitation was sent weeks ago, and we received confirmation of her attendance. Let me check with security to see if there's been any issue. Patricia walked quickly toward the entrance, followed by Dr. Martinez and the other judges. As they approached, they could see Maya standing outside, surrounded by curious onlookers and facing Stevens, who was clearly preventing her from entering. Excuse me, Patricia called out as she reached the entrance. Is there some kind of problem here? Stevens straightened up, recognizing Patricia as one of the event organizers. This woman is attempting to enter without proper attire, ma'am. The dress code clearly states that formal footwear is required. Dr. Martinez looked at Maya and immediately recognized her from the shelter visits. Maya, thank goodness we found you. We were worried when you didn't arrive for the pre-ceremony reception. Maya looked relieved to see a familiar face. Dr. Martinez, I've been trying to get in, but apparently my shoes don't meet the dress code requirements. Patricia looked confused. I'm sorry, but who are you exactly? This is Maya Chun, Dr. Martinez explained, director of Second Chances and one of tonight's award recipients. She's being honored for outstanding community service. The announcement sent a ripple of surprise through the crowd of onlookers. Several guests who had been criticizing Maya's appearance suddenly looked uncomfortable, realizing they had been mocking someone who was actually being honored at the event. Patricia turned to Stevens with obvious irritation. Mr. Stevens, this woman is one of our most important guests tonight. Why wasn't she admitted immediately? Stevens looked flustered. Ma'am, the dress code clearly states. The dress code, Patricia interrupted firmly, is intended to ensure appropriate respect for the occasion. Ms. Chun is here to receive recognition for her humanitarian work. Her presence honors this event far more than any piece of clothing ever could. Margaret Foster stepped forward, her voice carrying the authority of decades in social work. Maya, I want to apologize for this misunderstanding. Your work in the community represents exactly the kind of service this gala was created to honor. Victoria Ashford, who had made some of the earlier disparaging comments, now found herself in the awkward position of having criticized an award recipient. She attempted to salvage the situation with false enthusiasm. Oh, how wonderful. We had no idea you were being honored tonight. Congratulations. Maya's response was gracious despite the treatment she had received. Thank you. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to represent the work that so many dedicated volunteers make possible. Robert Thompson joined the group, having followed the other judges outside. Maya, we've been looking forward to presenting your award all evening. Your organization's impact on the community has been truly remarkable. As the group prepared to enter the hotel, Patricia made a point of addressing the crowd that had gathered. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Maya Chun, director of Second Chances, one of tonight's award recipients. Her work with homeless families and individuals represents the very best of humanitarian service. The announcement transformed the atmosphere completely. Guests who had been whispering criticisms now approached Maya with congratulations and questions about her work. The same people who had judged her appearance were now eager to associate themselves with her success. Inside the ballroom, word spread quickly about Maya's identity and the incident at the entrance. Many guests began to question their own priorities and assumptions about what constituted appropriate behavior at charitable events. As the awards ceremony began, Maya found herself seated at the head table with the judges and other honorees. The contrast between her simple attire and the elaborate outfits around her no longer seemed important. If anything, it reinforced the authenticity of her commitment to service over appearance. When her category was announced, Dr. Martinez took the stage to present the award. The Outstanding Community Service Award recognizes individuals who have made extraordinary contributions to improving the lives of those in need. This year's recipient has transformed her community through hands-on service, innovative programs, and unwavering dedication to the most vulnerable members of society. Dr. Martinez paused, looking directly at Maya. Maya Chun has spent the past 5 years building Second Chances from a small volunteer effort into a comprehensive support system that has helped thousands of people rebuild their lives. But what sets her apart is not just the scope of her work, but her personal approach to service. The audience listened intently as Dr. Martinez described Maya's work in detail. Maya doesn't just run programs, she participates in them. She serves meals, provides counseling, and even does maintenance work when necessary. She has used her own money to buy groceries when donations ran low, and she has spent countless nights on the streets during emergencies, ensuring that vulnerable people had access to shelter and safety. As Dr. Martinez continued her presentation, many guests began to reflect on their own charitable giving and volunteer work. Most of their involvement consisted of writing checks or attending fundraising events, worthy contributions, but very different from Maya's hands-on approach. The judges were particularly impressed by Maya's ability to see each person she serves as an individual with unique needs and potential. Dr. Martinez continued. She doesn't just provide temporary relief. She helps people develop the skills and confidence they need to rebuild their lives permanently. When Maya's name was called, the audience erupted in applause that seemed to go on forever. As she walked to the stage, many guests rose to their feet, creating a standing ovation that acknowledged both her achievements and perhaps their own earlier misjudgments. Maya accepted the Crystal Award with obvious emotion, but when she spoke, her focus remained on the people she served rather than her own recognition. This award doesn't belong to me alone, she began. It belongs to every volunteer who has donated their time, every donor who has contributed resources, and especially to the brave individuals and families who have allowed us to be part of their journey towards stability and hope. Her speech was brief but powerful, focusing on the ongoing needs in the community and the potential for expanded services with increased support. She concluded by inviting guests to visit second chances to see the work firsthand and to consider how they might contribute to addressing homelessness in their city. As the ceremony continued, many guests approached Maya to learn more about her organization and to discuss potential support. Several major donors committed to significant contributions on the spot, and others offered professional services and volunteer time. But the most meaningful moment came when the judges presented Maya with an additional, unexpected honor. Margaret Foster returned to the stage with a special crown that was awarded only in exceptional circumstances to individuals whose work exemplified the highest ideals of humanitarian service. In recognition of service that goes beyond professional obligation to represent true calling and dedication, Margaret announced, "We present Maya Chun with the Crown of Service, awarded only 5 times in the history of this gala." As the crown was placed on Maya's head, the symbolism was not lost on anyone in the room. The woman who had been denied entry for not wearing proper shoes was now being honored with the highest recognition the organization could bestow. The crown sparkled under the ballroom lights, but its real beauty lay in what it represented. Acknowledgement that true royalty comes not from external symbols of status, but from the depth of one's commitment to serving others. Victoria Ashford, who had criticized Maya earlier, approached her after the ceremony with obvious contrition. "Ms. Chun, I owe you a sincere apology for my comments this evening. I was wrong to judge you based on your appearance. Your work is inspiring, and I hope you'll allow me to support your organization in some way." Maya's response reflected the grace that had characterized her entire approach to the evening's challenges. "Thank you for your kind words. What matters most is that we all work together to address the needs in our community. There are many ways to contribute, and every form of support makes a difference." The evening concluded with commitments totaling over $2 million in new funding for Maya's organization, along with offers of volunteer support and professional services that would significantly expand their capacity to serve the community. As guests departed, many commented that Maya's presence had transformed their understanding of what the gala was truly meant to accomplish. The focus shifted from social status and appearance to genuine impact and service. 6 months later, Second Chances had expanded to serve over 800 meals daily and had opened 2 additional facilities. The job training programs had placed more than 500 people in stable employment, and the organization had become a model for similar efforts in other cities. Maya continued to wear comfortable flats to work every day, walking the streets, serving meals, and caring for people in need. The crown sat in her office as a reminder that true recognition comes not from conforming to external expectations, but from staying true to one's calling to serve others. The story of Maya's evening at the gala became part of the organization's fundraising presentations, illustrating how assumptions about appearance and status can blind us to genuine worth and achievement. It served as a reminder that the most important qualities, compassion, dedication, and service, cannot be measured by the clothes one wears or the shoes on one's feet. Dr. Martinez kept a photo from that evening on her desk, showing Maya accepting the crown of service. It reminded her daily that the most meaningful recognition goes to those who work quietly and selflessly, often without seeking acknowledgement, to make the world a better place for those who need it most. This story was brought to you by Heroes Unheard. Before we leave you today, here's our question. Have you ever known someone who never asked for recognition but deserved more than anyone else? Tell us in the comments what they meant to you and how you remember them. And if you think stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button to support the channel. We'll see you in the next one.